telling your story as honestly as Jerry's tried to do it in writing his book, it's not always an easy thing. Putting out there for any of us, where we failed. And Jerry talks a lot about putting a smile on his face when there really wasn't one there deep down, and it became not the positive fake it till you make it, get through it kind of smile, but let's fool everybody to making them think that it's okay kind of smile. And have worked 12 years with families with intellectual disabilities. And real quickly, I'll tell you a real quick story. I was working at King's Daughter School up in Columbia, Tennessee. It's a school for teenagers up to the age of 21 with intellectual disabilities. And there I met a young man named Joel who was from Memphis. And Joel, they called it autistic, but it's, autism really is a broad term. And not everybody that gets that label is autistic necessarily. Joel's particular problem came from a viral infection that he got when he was only 3 weeks old. And he recovered from that infection, and he began to learn to walk and to talk and develop somewhat normally, though a little bit delayed. But when he was 3 years old, he had a relapse. The infection came back, and his mom told a group of us, and she was sharing her story about Joel with us. As she choked back the tears, it was by far the worst day of her life when she got the news that Joel had relapsed. He was 3 years old, and he hasn't spoken a word since then. And Joel walks like this. And he loves to communicate too. But his only way of communication is a few signs. And so every time he sees me, he starts doing this because that means he wants a piece of candy. And he loves to do the handshake with the interlocking hands. Anyway, why am I telling you about Joel? Before Joel had come to Columbia, his family had the means to send him to several different places where they thought he could get some help. And he has made progress through the years, but not to the extent that they had hoped. While he was there in Kansas, he went to a special school, and a young girl named Crystal worked with him there. And she formed a relationship with the family that was strong enough. They decided just to hire her and bring her to Memphis. She and another girl. And so Crystal went to Memphis and worked straight for the family. Well, 2.5 years later, they decided to send him to King's Daughters. And Crystal just stayed in Memphis. Well, long story short, when Crystal and I got married, Joel was at our wedding, and his mom would cry as she would reflect that her son with this profound disability had a meaningful role in bringing two people together. My children exist because this man named Joel Prosper exists. His life is forever linked with mine. I know sometimes for families, because I've heard enough from them to know, almost every family that has a child with special needs deals with guilt. Because whether they admit it or not, the thought process is, what did I do wrong? Why is this happening to me? It makes me think of a story in John chapter 9 when there was a man who was born blind. And the people gathered around said, who sinned here? Somebody had to have done something wrong for this man to have been born blind. Was it him? Or was it his parents? And if you're familiar with the story, you know Jesus told the people, he said, look, it wasn't because of his sin or his parents' sin. But he exists so that the works of God might be displayed in him. Now, everybody doesn't always get the miracle cure. Not every kid makes advances as much as that you'd hope. We all deal with disappointments in those arenas of life. But here's what I know to be true. That if we're truly looking honestly at the life of any human being on this planet, we can see the glory of God at work in their life. And that's the story that I hope you can be encouraged by.